Of what?
Welcome.
Oh, it wasn't even on?
No, it wasn't even on, man.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. Welcome to Caleb Can't Read. I'm Caleb Terrence.
I'm Jordan Rabel. Well, do you want to say the thing that we were saying before? It sounded fine.
It's not going to sound as natural.
Welcome to our Christmas episode.
Holiday episode, Jordan. We're being inclusive.
Welcome to our big gay inclusive episode.
Hey. Hey, there's plenty of people that celebrate different holidays at this time of year that don't like gay people at all.
Yeah.
And they're welcome, and we're wishing everyone a happy holiday.
You want to try this thing?
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna do a quick little review, unless we edit it out later real quick.
2 Towns cider and a Rogue?
Yeah.
Oak aged spice imperial apple. I don't know. It's really hard, so we'll see how well we do this episode. Anyway.
Yeah,
I dig it. It's it's apple cider and like a little bit of whiskey, it feels like. That's good.
It's good, but it's no. I feel like the whiskey thing is that it was aged in a whiskey barrel or something.
I mean, it tastes a little smokier. It's good though. I like it.
It's okay. The spice is like, I could do without the spice.
Mm-hmm. It almost treats it like like a cider that I don't usually pick. But you know what this one is? It's 11%. So that kind of makes it okay.
Yeah. It'll make it worth it at least. Like you're working for something there. But anyway, take it away, Jordan.
All right, thank you.
Recap the last episode.
I am. So from where we last left off, Cormac McCarthy, born Charles Joseph McCarthy Jr., has released 4 books, but none of them to big success. The Orchard Keeper, Outer Dark, Child of God, and Sutri have all gone recognized by those who read them. But because McCarthy lived his life as a hermit and had done a whopping 0 interviews up to this point, his sales have been meager for every book. Problem is, McCarthy also waged a one-man war against ever getting a day job, and sometimes to the cost of his marriages. Instead, McCarthy would elect to wait and squalor for someone to recognize him, which luckily happened every few years. Some prestigious society would end up hearing about this amazing author, give Cormac McCarthy a fat check and congratulations, and then he'd coast off of it for the next while. His plan would be all well and good, except McCarthy was generally pumping out books at about 2 a decade, not nearly enough for this idea to work. But in 1981, McCarthy was awarded the MacArthur Fellowship Prize, which gave his bank account enough of a push that he was able to move to the southwestern United States and conduct research for his next novel. Sometime around then, he came across a memoir from a scalper in the region. Not someone who sells tickets, I mean someone who collects scalps. In it, the author talked about being a part of a regiment run by John Joel Galanton and a mysterious man who ran with them by the name of Judge Holden, who seemed to know everything there was to know and had a penchant for killing children. With this twisted bit of inspiration, Cormac McCarthy would release his next novel in 1985, Blood Meridian, or The Evening Redness in the West. Mm-hmm. All right, you ready?
No, I really should have flipped through it before we did this.
How many times have you tried to read Blood Meridian? Because it took me a bit before I was like, let's actually go through this for real next time.
The dyslexia makes it challenging for sure. But it's actually kind of easier because of his lack of punctuation to actually follow along and figure out what's going on.
I mean, I'll be honest, Blood Meridian makes me feel like I have dyslexia. The book is tough to read.
That's why I feel at home here.
It's a tough book. I remember I got more than halfway through it before I waited years to pick it up again because I was like, man, this is getting a bit much. But anyway, so let's get into it. Now, the book opens to 3 quotes, and I do find them a little bit important, so I put them in here.
Okay, so wait a minute.
Yeah.
So, just to clarify here, I hope I didn't say this in the last one, but so Blood Meridian is based on memoirs from real people, and I mean it's not like everything.
No, it's not
in the
historical
memoirs
fiction.
Is
right.
It's not like everybody's accounts are going to be 100% true, but this is shit that he found. So
yes. And the routes that he took and that he had these characters take in the book were actual trails that they went down. He went to the actual places. He looked at the receipts that they basically had, and he went down them himself. He tried to make this book as accurate to the Wild West as he possibly could. And yes, there is a bit of mysticism in it, it's supernatural type shit. But honestly, as far as a historical novel of the Old West goes, this is as close as you're really going to get, oddly enough.
No, I just didn't know that the fucking, creepiest character in there was based off of
A real guy.
I mean, accounts of apparently somebody like that existing and just running around.
Actually named Judge Holden too, and there's no other record out there of him. He's Judge Holden as a character actually I think has his own Wikipedia page that when you look at it, there's just this whole thing about like historians trying to find out this was surely an alias. Now who was it though?
Who was it actually? Yeah, because if you're getting up to that shit, you're not going to be like, here's my real fucking name.
Yeah, exactly. Fair point. What's your name? Judge. Really? Like the guy from Beverly Hills Cop? Nope. Kinda.
Does it matter?
He's also tall. I don't know. So the book opens to 3 quotes. Your ideas are terrifying and your hearts are faint. Your acts of pity and cruelty are absurd, committed with no calm, as if they were irresistible. Finally, you fear blood more and more. Blood and time. The other quote says, it is not to be thought that the life of darkness is sunk in misery and lost as if in sorrowing. There is no sorrowing, for sorrow is a thing that is swallowed up in death, and death and dying are the very life of the darkness. Granted, both those quotes mean nothing to me, but the last quote is a snippet from an article in the Tola...
They sound real cool.
I guess. I don't know what they mean.
They got a bunch of good... There's a bunch of good D words in that second one, Death and dying and darkness and ooh, yeah.
And D's and
dying, darkness, D's nuts.
As McCarthy wrote. And the last one the last one though is a snippet from the Tola Daily Sun on June 13th, 1982, a real article. And this is one that foreshadows the entire novel, which reads, Clark, who led last year's expedition to the Afar region of northern Ethiopia, and UC Berkeley colleague Tim D. White, also said that a re-examination of a 300,000-year-old fossil skull found in the same region earlier shows evidence of having been scalped. So we've been doing this forever.
Yeah. So the first guy just, whoa.
Guys, I did something wild. I'm sorry.
What the fuck is wrong with you, dude? Just try it. Will you try it? Will you please try it?
It's kind of neat. I don't know.
Jesus Christ.
Hey, man, this is going to be a dark one. Like, you got to remember, we're not only going through this, we're also going to go through the road,
Oh,
yeah. So this is how McCarthy begins his novel. Quote, see the child. He is pale and thin. He wears a thin and ragged linen shirt. He stokes the scullery fire. Outside lie dark-turned fields with rags of snow and darker woods beyond that harbor yet a last few wolves. His folk are known for hewers of water and drawers of water, but in truth, his father has been a schoolmaster. He lies in drink. He quotes from poets whose names are now lost. The boy crouches by the fire and watches him. Night of your birth, 33, the Leonids they were called. God, how the stars did fall. The story follows an unnamed child, simply called the Kid, throughout the book. He lives alone with his drunken father, and knowing nothing will come from this life, he runs away from home at the age of 14. For a year, he travels the countryside looking for civilization, eventually finding himself in Nacogdoches, Texas at the age of 16. Rain has drenched the town for the last 16 days, and the only place the people seem to get away from it is in a large tent where a reverend is preaching a sermon. But as the boy listens in the back, a tall, hairless man walks in and proclaims, Ladies and gentlemen, I feel it is my duty to inform you that the man holding this revival is an impostor. He holds no papers of divinity from any institution recognized or improvised. In truth, the gentleman standing before you posing as a minister of the Lord is not only illiterate, but is also wanted by the law in the states of Tennessee, Kentucky, Mississippi, and Arkansas. So as the Reverend backs away, denying the allegations, the people of the town go after him, chasing him through the mud.
Yeah, didn't they say, was it diddler or something?
Yeah, he's a diddler of all kinds. And meanwhile...
A diddler of animals? A diddler of men!
Burning our women, raping our churches. Meanwhile, this tall stranger goes to the bar across the street, and a kid follows him. And someone asks, hey, Judge Holden, how do you know all that stuff about the Reverend? And he says, quote, I never laid eyes on the man before today. Never even heard of him. And in stunned silence, the townsfolk begin to laugh, and together they drink.
Yeah, because it's not just the kid. Like, the townsfolk literally, they run off
They just killed him for the fun of it.
Like, they don't... Like, the story completely pans away to paying attention to it at all. But it's like, yeah, no, they ran off and, like, strung him up and hung him.
Yeah.
And then they're meeting in the bar, and this guy's like, I actually had no idea who that guy was.
That's funny. I don't know what to tell you, but that's good American humor.
I don't know, it's kind of cool, too, because it sets up for, like, clearly the dude has to be huge and really imposing to get away with some shit like that.
That's true. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
If there was a little dude that came in and was like, that Reverend's a liar, it would be like, this is funniest thing I've ever seen. Like,
no, not that, but, like, to confess immediately to, like, getting the town to kill a fucking...
No, I know, but that's what I mean, too, is yeah, Judge Bolton can do whatever he wants. Yeah. Like... Back in that day, oh my God, he's 5'11". He's the tallest man I ever did see.
He was born in the wrong time.
From the small amount of cash the kid saved from his years doing odd jobs in the desert, he drinks away the last of it within a few days he's been in Nacogdoches. He ends up fighting another drunk, a man with no ears and the letters HTF branded on his forehead, meaning horse thief, who kicks the kid's ass and leaves him to drown in the mud.
Huge titty fiend.
Damn, it branded me right there. But when the kid wakes
Man's
up...
a fiend for the titty.
When the kid...
You know what this stands for, boy?
He's the most feared man in Nacogdoches. Get Big Bill out of here, quick.
Hide the thick men.
But when the kid wakes up in the mud, the man is still there, introduces himself as Toadvine, and has the kid come along with him to find someone by the name of Old Sydney. Turns out there's some bad blood between Toadvine and Sid, and he wants the kid's help in getting what's his.
Isn't the kid, like, massively concussed at this point?
Yeah, I mean, he was knocked out for a bit, you know?
He's knocked out, he wakes up in the mud.
Yeah, he's just like, hey, man, actually, I need your help.
No. That's not the guy he was fighting with.
Yeah, that's Toadvine. He stayed there, and then, like, when he woke up, he was like, hey, you want to hang out?
No. He gets in a scrap because they're crossing two planks in the mud.
Yeah.
With a guy.
No, that's Toadvine.
No. And then another guy comes in with his fucking stick and knocks them both the fuck out.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, see what
and
I
he
mean,
goes,
man?
He goes with the guy
with
the stick.
I've read this story twice, like front to back, but I can still, it's written in such a way, I don't doubt you.
Yeah. And then dude comes up, fucking, I am dyslexic. But I'm like, dude comes up, knocks them both out, was trying to kill the kid, but then the kid wakes up and he's concussed.
You know what?
Yeah.
I think that is correct. Man, it's... McCarthy's writing is sometimes hard.
The kid like gets up and the guy with the stick is just like, "Oh, you're alive? Okay."
Well, either way, they learn that Old Sydney is in a hotel in town and possibly waiting to ambush them when they enter. So instead, Toadvine and the kid set the hotel on fire. And when Old Sydney comes running out, Toadvine holds him down while the kid kicks him to death.
Oh yeah.
I will say, this is not his first murder, by the way. The first chapter does this whole thing where he's like, yeah, he was born in Tennessee, but then he went over to, like, I think, somewhere in Mississippi, and then to St. Louis, and then he rode it down to New Orleans, and then he goes to Texas. But somewhere in that, he's like, yeah, he killed a guy, and, like, he got shot twice, you know? Like, I don't know, shit happens. So that's just chapter 1, you know?
It's just him getting just
beaten and bruised, but he's got like $20 on him, so he drinks it.
Brain is just a horrific amount of traumatic brain injury by 19.
I mean, you got to remember back in the day that they had those huge forceps to hold the baby's head when he's even coming out, just to squeeze them out. You know?
What?
Yeah, they had like head grabbers.
Oh, jeez.
That was a thing. I think they might still use them, but
oh damn it, this one's coming out cone shaped. Can't get the grip on it.
Oh, God. Well, the two split up.
Sharpen my baby pliers.
The two split up after killing old Sid. But as far as the kid can run, he never actually makes it out of Texas. Instead, with nothing to his name, he begins to steal and lie to get food and supplies, eventually coming to a bar where the bartender won't serve him a drink. He is only like 16, but it's like, sir, this is the Old West. Who gives a shit? Like, I've murdered men, you know? Well, in his anger, the kid kills the bartender with a broken bottle and runs away with another. He falls asleep drunk under a tree a ways away, but he's quickly picked out by a cavalryman regardless. The thing is, this guy isn't looking to arrest the kid. No, he's there to recruit him. Says whoever killed that bartender may be just the kind of fella they're looking for.
Okay, you're leading up to what the reasoning on that was, right?
Huh.
It was because everybody in the bar was Mexican, and it was because he killed a Mexican dude.
Oh, yeah, no. Yeah, no, I'm trying to...
We're trying to smooth it over here. But, yeah.
Yeah, no. If he killed a white guy, then he would 100% be arrested.
I got used to somebody who kills minorities around these parts.
Mm-hmm. No, yep. Honestly, I was just waiting for you to ask, but it seems like you know the answer. Honestly, that's the answer for most things when it comes to the Old West, so,
yeah.
Ask away, but it's the same answer. Well, so it turns out this guy is a recruiter for Captain White, who's ready to lead a troop into Mexico. You see, the Mexican-American War had just concluded a year back, but Captain White is looking to get things started again, and this time to finish it. Each man that rides with Captain White gets his own horse, a weapon, and if things go well enough, possibly their own parcel of land. When the two finally meet, the kid lies to Captain White.
The thing about owning land is, like, if you have enough capability to murder people, you can just draw the fucking lines, man.
Yeah.
Like, so we're just going to go in there with guns and horses, and you just clear it out, and then you're like, hey, this imaginary line is mine now.
I want you to imagine this. Now, if you say that you own everything up to the top of that range over there, now that's your answer this year. But you see, next year I'm going to ask you, what happened to that family on the other side of the ridge? And you said, no, my line was past the ridge. That's what I've always said. And you know what? Next year, your guess is as good as mine, but use your imagination. I mean, that's all it is.
Jesus.
So when the two finally meet, the kid lies to Captain White, saying he's 19, and Captain White tells him that, while what they're doing is technically illegal, the plans are being drawn up in Washington, D.C. as they speak, so there's no harm in getting things done a little early, invading a country. The company consists of around 50 men, but as they traverse the desert leading into Mexico, the heat is deadly enough that a few men actually die along the way. Unfortunately for the company, they see movement out on the horizon, something they were praying they wouldn't find. They're Comanches, having just come from a village they've torn apart. And the description of them, dressed in things they don't understand, like a tuxedo worn backwards and a bloody wedding dress, is fucking terrifying. And it's this one long, beautiful sentence, and is one of those times where once Cormac McCarthy wrote it, he had to take a break for several weeks until he came up with something even better to write after. So this is a long one, but again, so this is one sentence long, and it perfectly describes what they saw out on the horizon. Quote, "A legion of horribles, hundreds in number, half naked or clad in costumes Attic or biblical or wardrobed out of a fevered dream with the skins of animals and silk finery and pieces of uniform still tracked with the blood of prior owners, coats of slain dragoons, frogged and braided cavalry jackets, one in a stovepipe hat, and one with an umbrella, and one in white stockings and a blood-stained wedding veil, and some in headgear or crane feathers or rawhide helmets that bore the horns of bull or buffalo, and one in a pigeon-tailed coat worn backwards and otherwise naked, and one in the armor of a Spanish conquistador, the breastplate and pauldrons deeply dented with old blows of mace or saber done in another country, by men whose very bones were dust, and many with their braids spliced up with the hair of other beasts, until they trailed upon the ground, and their horses' ears and tails worked with bits of brightly colored cloth, and one whose horse's whole head was painted crimson red, and all the horsemen's faces gaudy and grotesque, with daubings like company of mounted clowns, death hilarious, all howling in a barbarous tongue and riding down upon them like a horde from a hell more horrible yet than the brimstone land of Christian reckoning, screeching and yammering and clothed in smoke like those vaporous beings in regions beyond right, knowing where the eye wanders and the lip jerks and drools."
Pretty good.
Fuck yeah. It's awesome.
About to get fucked up by a bunch of dudes in horror drag.
Oh, it's terrifying. When the Comanches come upon Captain White and his men, the ensuing bloodbath is fucking graphic. The Comanches scalp the men while sodomizing them, and some have their genitals cut out while they're still alive. However, the kid manages to get away from the carnage, but he is one of only 8 survivors. The kid escapes to the town the Comanches had just come from, figuring he'd be harder to find if he went against their own tracks. When the kid arrives among the dead, he comes across a horrific scene in the middle of town. This is the chapter with the infamous baby tree. Quote, "These small victims, 7, 8 of them, had holes punched in their underjaws and were hung so by their throats from the broken stobs of a mesquite to stare eyeless at the naked sky, bald and pale and bloated, larval to some unreckonable being." Jesus Christ. It's really hard to get a Cormac McCarthy costume ready for Halloween, you know?
Blood Meridian, or The Baby Tree, by Cormac McCarthy.
That's really how most people just describe it. Like,
Oh,
which one's Blood Meridian? You know, the one with the baby tree. Oh, yeah.
The Wild West one? Not ringing a bell.
Oh.
Yeah.
The kid
We're gonna
passes.
skim that.
Yeah. But that's the thing. It's beautifully written. So it's like hard to pass up sometimes. The kid passes out in town, but is woken up by the Mexican military, who know exactly what Captain White and his men were up to. The kid is imprisoned in a cell with none other than Toadvine, the earless man he committed a murder with back in Nacogdoches. While they carry out their sentence in a chain gang, they notice another group of prisoners kept away from the others. Toadvine explains that these are John Joel Glanton and his men, scalp hunters. They wear necklaces made of ears and are paid $100 per Indian scalp from the U.S. government. But luckily for them, the government rarely knows the difference between that of an Indian and that of a Mexican.
Weird.
Although it's not described how, the kid and Toadvine are released 3 days later along with the rest of Glanton's men. My guess is that Toadvine spoke to Glanton in secret and got himself and the kid recruited. But either way, they set off. And among their number is another man the kid met back in Nacogdoches, Judge Holden. And while the group is originally tasked with protecting Mexican civilians from the attacking Apaches, Glanton and his men soon find themselves bored with drunkenness and violence, and devolve into attacking villages and soon picking off soldiers. Throughout the rest of the book, the scalpers encounter episodic adventures that are both cruel and sickening. Yet the entire novel is beautifully fucking written, and no matter what cruelties may appear, they're talked about as if they're an everyday occurrence. For instance, there's this one sentence like, "And they were there for a while. One day a man came into town crawling on his hands and knees because robbers had sawn off the bottoms of his feet." And then they never mention it again. And that's something that always stuck with me. It was like, that's terrifying. Like,
Another whiskey.
You didn't keep the bottoms of your feet? Haven't had beef jerky in weeks. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Sorry.
All right, Jordan.
After everything is said and done, Blood Meridian really is perhaps the goriest novel I've ever read. Yet it's not unreadable. I think the entirety of American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis is less gory than any chapter in Blood Meridian, yet whereas I skipped entire paragraphs in American Psycho because of the disgusting description of what Patrick Bateman does, every sentence in Blood Meridian is like a quote, even if it's terrifying. And throughout the book, Judge Holden holds a supernatural presence over the men. Everywhere they stay, there's a dead child left behind, and it's often assumed to be the judge. At one point, there's this little boy selling puppies by a bridge, and the judge buys 2 of them. And when he picks them up, he immediately hucks them over the side of the bridge, just to let the kid watch them drown. It's fucking sad.
Jesus.
I know. Even when the main character asks how Glanton and his men came about recruiting him, they say it like a fairy tale. When the group was lost, they found the judge sitting on a stone in the distance, watching, as if he were waiting for them. When the kid mentions that he'd met the judge once before in Texas, they say, yeah, funnily enough, everyone in the company has met the judge once before. And wherever they go, he's seen drawing the flora and fauna of the desert into a little booklet. When asked why, he gives one of the most badass lines ever written. Whatever in creation exists without my knowledge exists without my consent. Ooh, I love that one. That's awesome. It's so cool. One by one, Glanton's... What?
Recording?
Yeah.
My bad.
All right. One by one, Glanton's crew befalls some terrible fate. and by the end of the book, only the kid remains. It is the winter of 1878, and the kid, now called the man, is around 45 years old and makes his way to a tavern between towns, where he recognizes none other than Judge Holden, dancing with the rest of the saloon who hasn't aged a day. The judge recognizes the man, saying, "The last of the true, the last of the true." The man and the judge speak for a great while before the man gets scared of the things he says, things about the end times and the fate of bad men. The man gets up, saying he needs to leave, but before he does, the man makes for the outhouse. But inside, the judge is already waiting. Naked.
Naked in the outhouse?
Yeah. And the man is scared, but the judge just hugs him close like he's reassuring a friend and shuts the door. And that's the last we hear of the man. When a patron of the bar later opens the
fuck can you fit Judge Holden and another man in a fucking...
It's metaphysical. I don't know.
Oh, okay, cool. No, I was thinking like, you said outhouse and I just pictured porta potty, but I'm sure it was bigger.
I mean, not really, though. It's not that much bigger. I wouldn't think.
I mean, how many outhouses?
Did they have extended outhouses for, like, you know, like they have the...
For some big old boys?
I mean, well, no, they have, like, troughs, like, at, like, I'm thinking, like, Satyricon. But, I mean, like, you know, did they have kind of the equivalent?
No one got that reference. Not a soul.
A lot of our listeners are from Portland, and they are ages 28 to 34, according to Spotify. And you know what? They remember.
That's even, like... That's pretty far back there. But anyway.
They still sell shirts online. I kind of want one. I know.
If I saw somebody with that, I'd be like, that is a tryhard.
Yeah.
Like,
no, it's fun.
Like,
it's
we get it.
Okay, millennial. Yeah.
Like,
no, I'm just thinking, like, are there, like, extended outhouses where you could, like, there are several doors that just go to, you know, same pisser, basically? Nah, there couldn't be. But yeah, no, good point. The outhouse has to be pretty small for both guys.
Jesus.
Either way, when a patron of the bar later opens the outhouse, we're not told what he sees, but he exclaims, "Good God Almighty." What do you think the judge did to him?
I don't know, probably some 4chan shit that these Westerners weren't prepared to see.
I mean,
like,
they don't say whether the judge was already, like, if he was still in the outhouse with him or not. Otherwise, he was probably sodomizing and scalping him or something. But I mean, like, I don't know. They just leave it up to the imagination. I think he just contorted the man's body and just killed him in a horrific way and just left his body in there. That's what I'm telling myself anyway.
Probably just dead.
Yeah, just
probably we don't.
It's true, just dead.
We don't need to pull like. I feel like if you saw somebody's fucking like recently murdered body assaulted, you would still say, "Good God Almighty!" Like,
yeah, no, I will say though, there's 200 pages leading up to this point telling you how terrible of a person Judge Holden is. So it's like maybe it was horrific what he did.
Yeah, but I feel like, you know, our man here isn't gonna miss an opportunity to be as edgy as possible. So if he's not exclaiming the details of something as edgy as the baby tree baby, we can just assume that he's been killed.
Yeah, just strangled.
Like strangled.
Maybe, had a heart attack.
I don't know. Like he's fucking there dead. He's probably just like, oh shit, there's a body here.
He's just taking a shit, you know. Good God Almighty, the smell. Oh, fuck. Yeah. A lot of nachos, I'm sorry.
This job, oh god damn, fuck this job.
Just shitting in the wood chipper. Anyway.
We don't need to bring that up again.
Just want to shame you.
Nobody poops in the wood chipper. You poop in the chip box that the chips go into. How would I poop in the wood chipper?
It's carefully. You can do it like Spider-Man. You're just kind of hanging from above. Anyway.
Come here, Mary Jane. What the fuck, bro?
Already inside the saloon, still naked, is the judge, who's resumed dancing with the crowd.
Wait, he's dancing naked with a crowd of people?
Hell yeah. I believe with one hat on. I mean, as opposed to two hats, but he's dancing with a hat on, yeah.
One. His penis is hatless.
If he had a tiny hat, I don't know, man. You can't make the story much better.
You said one hat, man. Okay. I'm sorry. What do you want me to do with that?
Nothing.
Okay.
I agree with you. Yeah.
With a hat on.
He should have had a hat on his penis. I get it. Quote, "And they are dancing, the board floor slamming under the jackboots and the fiddlers grinning hideously over their canted pieces. Towering over them all is the judge, and he is naked dancing, his small feet lively and quick, and now in double time and bowing to the ladies, huge and pale and hairless, like an enormous infant. He never sleeps, he says. He says he'll never die.
Penis teabagging as he moves through the crowd.
Slapping around. He bows to the fiddlers and sachets backwards and throws back his head and laughs deep in his throat, and he is a great favorite, the judge. He wafts his hat, and the lunar dome of his skull passes palely under the lamps, and he swings about and takes possession of one of the fiddles, and he pirouettes and makes a pass, 2 passes, dancing and fiddling all at once. His feet are light and nimble. He never sleeps. He says that he will never die. He dances in light and shadow, and he is a great favorite. He never sleeps, the judge. He is dancing, dancing. He says that he will never die. Fantastic ending to a book. Now, there are major themes of both violence and religion when it comes to Blood Meridian, all of which are very obvious, especially the violence. But there is an underlining struggle between good and evil in the book as well. Now, on the surface, it would appear that evil wins every time. I mean, it is a fucking depressing book.
Yeah, they're being led by Satan.
Yeah, But if you look deeper into some of these scenes, the battle of good and evil goes back and forth more than you would think. For instance, within Glanton's gang, there's an ex-priest by the name of Tobin, and he and the judge are constantly at odds. Yet for all the judge's remarks and philosophies toward God, Tobin's faith doesn't falter. In the end, the judge executes Tobin as the kid watches. Does that mean evil won? Well, yes, but in a bittersweet way. To me, it means that no matter what the judge said, he couldn't break Tobin's spirit, so he elected to break his body instead. In the end, the judge acted no better than some Twitter warrior when he's proven wrong. At the same time...
Did somebody hurt you on Twitter, Jordan?
Yeah, man, they were fucking mean. No.
Who was mean to you on Twitter, Jordan?
Fucking, there I was, just insulting the president, and he sends guys over and says, hey,
weren't you like...
can't do that.
Didn't I have to like stop you from replying to negative comments online?
No.
I feel like a year ago or so we had like an incident where somebody's like, somebody on YouTube said our podcast sucked, and it's like,
oh, no,
it's like, of course they did, yeah.
No, I didn't reply at all. You didn't stop me from it. I
thought you were like, well, I'm gonna just tell him to fucking shut up.
No, I didn't. No, the story is that somebody was just like this, like it was just a really, to use the word immature makes me sound like I am angry, but I'm not. But no, he was just like doing some.
You totally don't sound angry about it, right?
Shut up. No, he was just saying some like immature shit where I was just like, should I bother responding? Where I'm like, well, no, exactly. And that's all that my story was to you. You didn't stop me from doing anything. I was like, I was going to ask questions, like follow-up questions. And then I looked at who he was subscribed to, and I saw like, I'm not going to fucking argue with somebody who follows Steven Crowder and Ben Shapiro on YouTube. Like, I'm not, I'm like, never mind. I'm not going to bother.
We're not going to argue with anyone on that.
It's fine. Yeah, no, I don't need to. Because besides, I'm always right. Like, what are you going to do? This entire thing, factually correct. What are you supposed to do?
Dude, you aren't even right about how that went down.
Yeah. See what I mean? I'm 100% correct.
Exactly. But yeah, no, if you put your shit out online, then there's going to be that.
Yeah. No, it took a while for someone to hate on it, and it was like, oh, cool.
It's actually, it's pretty flattering. It's like, finally.
Yeah, right?
Like,
hate me.
Just something finally.
I can't get my rocks off if you're not mad, you know?
Or just like, oh my God, someone actually listened to this.
Yeah, right? We got one listener. No, so anyway.
And we hate him. He doesn't like Ben Shapiro.
In time, if the judge really is the devil and Tobin went unrepented for the gang's sins when he died, it means he's definitely going to hell. There's actually an epilogue to Blood Meridian that no one talks about, and that's partly because it has nothing to do with the story. Even today, almost 30 years later, no one's quite sure what the epilogue means. It's simply a scene of a rancher digging holes and lighting fires where the posts are to be planted. That's it. Digs a hole, lights a fire, moves on. But this could be from any time period. And if it's supposed to be the present day, it could mean that no matter the bloodshed that happened here, the bodies buried underneath, people will know peace. The world will move on. It could be the same with that quote from the very beginning of the book, the one that talks about that Ethiopian skull showing evidence of being scalped. Guy gets killed in a terrible way 300,000 years ago, and yet time moves on. Maybe. I don't know. Who am I to say? Now, you wouldn't know it, but almost everything in Blood Meridian, besides the obvious parts with the devil himself, are factually correct. There's a part where the judge teaches Glanton's men to make gunpowder out of volcanic rock, and you can really do that. Cormac McCarthy knows this because he learned how to make homemade gunpowder.
Of course he did.
Which, I gotta say...
I'm so glad he was just a writer.
Right? No, I was gonna say, you gotta think about how carefully he was possibly being watched. Like, is that the dude who likes to live in huts, eat beans, and make gunpowder at home? Yeah, let's fucking... eye on him.
No. Just send him another check. It's fine. We'll publish it.
Yeah, that's the thing, too. How is he funding this? Oh, he gets heavy checks every once in a while. Does he have a job? No. I'm a little scared. I don't know. This sounds like domestic terrorism to me.
Cormac McCarthy's level of laziness is that he's willing to literally just make everything off the land to avoid working.
Yes, exactly. Which I gotta admire him for. I'm doing that currently.
I kind of it's gonna be more work, but at the same time, I get up whenever the fuck I want.
I mean, that's the thing. Okay, wait, listen, we got to reiterate here. No, we're not psychiatrists. We are not psychologists. We're not any kind of thing besides just psychos in general. But we cannot diagnose Emily Dickinson, nor Philip K. Dick, nor Cormac McCarthy. But I will say,
this is a comedy podcast.
We talked about it last episode, and I got to reiterate here. Cormac McCarthy seemed a little bit on the spectrum, and to not want to work at all. I mean, nobody wants to, but to not make every ends meet so that you do not have to work, but you're so hyper-focused on walking the same trails as these guys to write the most accurate fucking Wild West book that you can.
He wants to work on what he wants to.
Yeah,
he doesn't want to work for somebody else. I guess I get that.
I mean, he also could have 100% not been on the spectrum, and it was just an oddball. That's really kind of it. But in today's society, it's like, hey, you should talk to someone.
Nope. It is 2023, and you are not just an oddball. You have autism.
You also have DID, and probably ADHD.
I
probably gay too.
ED,
ED,
and it. I personally like this new philosophy and way of looking at things because it excuses me from having as much responsibility in my own head when I'm just an awkward asshole. Mm-hmm. So,
What am I suffering from? You're just an asshole, Caleb. No.
Don't.
Can you maybe pass me a red, please? Yeah, I just called you an asshole.
Finish your fucking statement. Don't.
No, that was it. It was just calling you an asshole. Hey, can you give me a red?
Okay, so. Please excuse us here, as we did mention. We did start this off with an 11% drink, so...
Yeah, that's fine.
I think we're kind of trailing off now, unfortunately, during our most favoritist episode.
Cormac McCarthy would be proud. Actually, he wasn't a drinker. I'll get into that later.
Ooh. Well, you want to get into some more of this?
But either way, Cormac McCarthy, he scoured what records were available on these guys who really existed to know where they were at every point, even walked the same trails they did. As one critic put it, this book was, quote, as close to history as novels generally get. Blood Meridian has today been regarded as one of the greatest works of the 20th century, even called the Great American Novel, perhaps only rivaling that of Herman Melville's Moby Dick, which McCarthy cites as his favorite novel. But much like Moby Dick, the book was not a commercial success. Again, very few people reviewed it, and due to the obscene levels of violence, some critics even hated it.
When did it come out again?
1985.
85.
Yeah.
Right.
The New York Times said, Blood Meridian comes at the reader like a slap in the face, an affront that asks us to endure a vision of the Old West full of charred human skulls, blood-soaked scalps, a tree hung with the bodies of dead infants. But again...
And not just smiling white dudes with chiseled jaws.
Right? That shit happened. Cormac McCarthy had the fucking receipts. But it was 1985, so the closest thing people knew of the Old West at this point was whatever were in John Wayne movies. The white savior. Yeah. The New York Times also summed up the beauty of this cycle of American violence by saying, quote, there are, of course, no answers to the life and death issues Mr. McCarthy raises, but there are more rigorous, coherent ways to frame the questions. They're basically saying the book means nothing, and even if it did, there are nicer ways of saying it. Fuck you. But they weren't the only ones.
Unless, okay, you said he had receipts.
Yeah.
I think he had a receipt for the baby tree.
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, probably
Look,
not.
man,
I mean,
like,
you know what though? Fucking maybe. I mean, all it takes is one person to write a sentence that even they made up, and he may be like, "Boom, baby tree, factually happened," and it's like maybe it didn't. Even then, who knows?
let's give him the benefit of the doubt, and maybe that didn't just come from his brain. But
If it did come from his brain, you know what? I still applaud him. It's great. Everyone remembers the baby tree. You know,
there's a no-win scenario here because either there was indeed a baby tree or McCarthy made it up. So let's just hope he made it up.
Okay. In terms of were there actually infants hung from a tree? I'm going to go with I hope there wasn't.
Yeah, probably. I don't know.
Yeah,
Man.
I hope there wasn't.
I hope not.
Yeah, I hope not. Good point, Caleb. Thanks for going in there for the safe. Yeah, I too hope
I'm
not.
just saying, like, it's a good book, but I get what the...
Mm-hmm.
It's an understandable critique. It's like, did you have to be such a fucking edgelord about it?
Yeah, but you know, here's the thing too, though, and let's not go into it too much, but I mean, yeah, there have been several factions, one against the other, that do kill each other's children. Scalping as a practice is horrifying, and they're not always dead when it happens. It's like, that shit's already terrifying, you know? And it's like, so what if he made this up? That's where you draw the line? It's like, look at the whole of human history. It's fucked up. That's just what it is. But either way, New York Times, they weren't the only ones that were pissy about it. The violence was way too much for most critics, and in the end, the book got snubbed when it first came out. Only in about 10 years' time would all of that change. But right now, back in 1985, Cormac McCarthy was living in a stone hut behind a shopping center in El Paso. I'm sure he didn't need to.
He did need to build it himself, though.
He did.
Out of stone.
I've actually been to somebody's stone hut behind a shopping center once. It wasn't to get drugs. It was like family members. But either way.
It was to get drugs from family members.
No, man, they fucking tapped into the water line to make an actual flushing toilet and everything in there, too. It was actually just a hangout spot. It was really cool. It was Nicole's family. They did it. But it was neat, you know?
Wow, you were just ousting. All right.
No, it was cool. I don't know if it's still there, but yeah, it was like just some unmarked land. And they're like, we built it out of scrap wood, stone, some bottles to make windows. It was cool.
All right, man.
Yeah, we hung out and we drank. It was neat. Anyway. Well, again, he got $236,000 from the MacArthur MacArthur Fellowship just 4 years before. But let's call him frugal. Still, he was living the life a lot of critics felt he would, as at this point, Cormac McCarthy was regarded as one of the, quote, best unknown novelists in America. After 20 years, Cormac McCarthy's longtime editor, Albert Erskine, was retiring. The year was 1992, and the 58-year-old Cormac McCarthy had just finished his first book in 7 years. But before his editor left Random House, Erskine told McCarthy, look, as a favor to me, would you please just give an interview for this one? Like, maybe that's all you've ever needed to get some sales. At this point, no novel of McCarthy's had sold more than 5,000 hardcovers. And for the last 30 years, Cormac McCarthy had never given a single interview. But for his pal Albert, he gritted his teeth and stepped out of his hole. Quote, you know about Mojave rattlesnakes? During the entire interview with the New York Times, Cormac McCarthy refuses to talk about either his book or himself. Of all the subjects I'm interested in, it would be extremely difficult to find one I wasn't. Writing is way, way down at the bottom of the list, though. So rather than an actual interview, it just ends up being this expose about this great 58-year-old unknown writer who lives in a shack that he won't let the interviewer into and claims to have 7,000 books locked up in various storage lockers around the state. You know, like someone who hoards weapons.
7,000 books?
Yeah. Just
all right, man.
Around, you know. He says he barely has any friends, none of which are writers, except one. Except one. Mm-hmm. Up until recently, due to his death, he got along okay with Edward fucking Abbey. Quote, shortly before Abbey's death in 1989, they discussed a covert operation to reintroduce the wolf to southern Arizona. Those are two people that are high on my list of suspects that would do that.
This is uncle shit to the bone.
And honestly, this is it.
Oh, Uncle McCarthy, no!
We don't have any specifics on this, but apparently that happened, which I think may still count as eco-terrorism, maybe? When asked about his 2 divorces, the interviewer asks if Cormac McCarthy has to pay any alimony, and he just snorts and says, with what? So if he didn't still have a bunch of money, he was definitely trying to hide it, which what would he be paying, rent?
Alimony, apparently.
I don't know.
Child support?
Ooh,
Probably a little too old for child support.
Yeah, maybe at this point.
You have to, like, if you get through skipping child support until the kid's 18, do you have to, like, pay that back at some point?
Not a single one. Boy, do I know somebody who waited to divorce until that kid was 18. Not a good person. I don't know them and like them. I'm just saying I know someone who did it. Yeah, no, you don't have to do reparations of any sort. You just, nah. That's it.
Okay, all right.
And although
Noted.
Put that away, back in your mind. Although he likes to hang out in bars, McCarthy states he quit drinking sometime in 1976 due to the problems that always come with it. Quote, "The friends I do have are simply those who quit drinking. If there is an occupational hazard to writing, it's drinking." He says he's recently been in contact with his son, Cullen, C-U-L-L-E-N, Cullen, and that he's getting married. He also says he's been thinking about moving to Spain. Quote, "3 moves is as good as fire," he says in praise of homelessness. So I guess if you up and move 3 times, then it's like, that's your lucky number, and you can just stay wherever the fuck you are, I guess. I don't know.
Where's he planning on moving to?
I think he's pretty set. I mean, he had Tennessee. He moved down to New Orleans, kind of, and then he just jumped over here to Texas, where he's like, fuck it. Behind the fucking Kmart's as good as it gets, and his walking distance of the mall, you know? So with very little to go on, this New York Times writer, Richard B. Woodward, instead gives a rundown on all of McCarthy's work up to this point, because you got to hit your word count somehow. And however little Cormac McCarthy thought about this interview, it seemed to work. With his editor from Random House gone, McCarthy instead printed his next book, All the Pretty Horses, with Knopfink, about a month after this interview. New York Times bestseller, National Book Critics Circle Award, National Book Award, and sold almost 200,000 copies within 6 months. Remember, usually they don't sell more than 5,000 copies. Turns out all this little weirdo needed was an interview. And we won't go real deep into this or his next 2 novels, but basically All the Pretty Horses is the beginning of what would later be called the Border Trilogy. In this book, a 16-year-old kid named John Grady Cole and his friend cross into Mexico looking for work, where they get caught up with a horse thief. 2 years after All the Pretty Horses, Cormac McCarthy released the second novel in the series called The Crossing, about brothers Billy and Boyd Parham and their 3 trips across the American-Mexican border. And finally, in 1998, the Border Trilogy concluded with Cities of the Plain, about John Grady Cole from the first book and Billy Parham from the second, working together on a farm. They're very non-climatic books.
He wrote some books.
It's slice of life, yeah. All 3 of these books were huge successes, though laughably, a review in the New York Times chastised Cities of the Plain for being too violent, saying, "One begins to miss the simple evocation of cowboy life that is so stirring in the earlier novels." Same publication that gave McCarthy shit when he wrote a story about real cowboy life. Which, honestly, they're very peaceful novels. It's not to say that nothing bad happens in them. They are Cormac McCarthy novels, after all.
It's just not, like, oppressively, dark.
Yeah. They are definitely inspired by observances he had leading a quiet life, but the popularity of these books will put a new set of eyes on his career. And it's from this point forward that his older work, Blood Meridian in particular, will finally get the recognition it deserves. Sometime between The Crossing and Cities of the Plain, Cormac McCarthy began delving into the world of screenplays yet again, something he would dabble in throughout the rest of his life. He'd published a play called The Stonemason, something he'd started after Blood Meridian, about a family where the son decides not to go to college, but to work as a stonemason like his father before him instead. And supposedly, McCarthy based the story on the lives of a family he really knew. And it's a great play, but it's a very mundane story too. Like, I guess that's what a lot of plays are, so I guess I should probably just shut up about it, but it's a Cormac McCarthy play. It's very good. Not a whole lot happens in it, but it's still Cormac McCarthy, so it's still really good. I don't know. It's neat. Anyway. I think that Two Towns is hitting me.
A little bit probably there, bro.
Hang on, gotta wait. Make sure that my mother-in-law stops yelling.
I don't know why you didn't record that.
I don't know
press
either.
it, because I pressed it back to
Oh,
record.
you did? Oh,
Yeah,
shit.
I did.
All right. In 1997, the 63-year-old Cormac McCarthy would marry for a third and final time to a woman named Jennifer Winkley. Sometime after that, his son John Francis McCarthy was born. Now, it's hard to underestimate just how much of a household name the Border trilogy made McCarthy. The last book was published in 1998, and by 1999, there was a book called Perspectives on Cormac McCarthy that had just come out, a collection of 11 essays from different critics going through everything he'd ever published up to that point. Everything except the Stonemason for some reason. But having a whole-ass book dedicated to your works, it meant Cormac McCarthy was finally being seen as a real author. And in the year 2000, the first adaptation of his works was released. But it wouldn't have quite the same impact as his books, not until some later films. All the Pretty Horses, this is a good cast, directed by Billy Bob Thornton, starring Matt Damon, Penelope Cruz, the kid from E.T., and the main character from Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift, was mostly rented by moms everywhere. Do you fucking remember this movie?
Oh, man. I didn't even know that was a thing he fucking wrote.
Oh, Jesus, dude. Yeah, I
Well,
remember.
we're doing it, though.
Huh?
We're going to watch it.
Fine.
Did you watch it?
No. Fuck no. I barely like the book. Sorry.
Let's fucking
I
go,
still
dude.
say we watched the PBS movie from the 70s. He did the
Oh,
Made
no,
for...
I want to do that.
That's a good one. That was actually very fucking good. Honestly, this might be good too, but I remember like Pretty is in the title. My mom rented it. She was like, "Do you want to watch it?" I'm like, "Fuck no."
You're like, Pretty Horses?
Pretty Horses?
Yeah, Mom, just
That's
get me
stupid.
Just get me a little like holder for my pencils with that Lisa Frank crap all over it. Sure. Yeah, I'll watch all the Pretty Horses.
I know some guys that had Lisa Frank on them. It's fine. Sure, it may have been one. Sure, it may have been me. That doesn't matter.
All right, man.
It's still tough.
Why don't you keep chugging along through this, huh?
Well, the original runtime on the movie was about 2 hours and 42 minutes, but apparently held a faithful adaptation to the book. Yet producer Harvey Weinstein came in and decided to recut it as a romance movie less than 2 hours long. The movie cost $57 million to make, but raked in about a third of that.
Ooh.
I don't know what Cormac McCarthy thought of it, but he did show up to set one day. But instead of talking with people like Matt Damon or the guy from Tokyo Drift, McCarthy instead spent all...
Guy from Tokyo Drift.
Hey, are you the guy who's going to be in a movie called Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift? I can't... Hey, remember when that first movie was talking about the race wars? You guys were all going to be... Yeah, boy, that didn't age well, huh? Anyway.
Wow, that was even something that probably shouldn't have gotten, put out there at the time even.
Do you realize how many people must have read that script and just said, yeah, on it? Boy, that's weird, huh? Anyway.
All right, time for race wars, everybody.
He's going to be there for the race wars? He's got to be there for the race wars. Fucking Vin Diesel is there looking at like 4 different races. Like, which one do I even pledge my allegiance to? Is that what the movie's about? Either way.
Vin Diesel's racial ambiguity.
Him and The Rock just looking at each other like, I don't know. Well, instead, McCarthy spent all his time with the props guy discussing firearms. Maybe a little autistic. I don't know.
Yeah, this is solid. This is behavior that before diagnosing everyone with autism from home became a thing that I just called uncle behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And that was because, most of the men who grew up and then acted like this, there was not like a member in your family who was like providing for a lot of people. It was like, oh, that's a fucking uncle.
That's uncle energy right there.
Just like uncle, just like, Andy and Bax when it was open, like Wednesdays had like uncle's night.
Is he real weird but fun but kind of smells like pot? Yeah, it's uncle behavior.
He's got some strange interests. He's going to like pick you up early from school one day. You're going to be really happy. We're going to a rock quarry. Yay.
Yeah, and then you later find out your mom had no idea that he picked you up. Yeah,
Just like,
that's uncle behavior.
It's uncle behavior. But now we now know this is autism, which explains why they are uncles and not dads.
Boy, here comes Cormac McCarthy just breaking that glass ceiling. 2 children, 3 marriages.
I mean,
no one's happy.
He's not around for them, though. That's what I mean.
True.
He's not providing for anybody.
No,
that's
he really
that's
isn't.
uncle behavior.
Actually, holy shit. So he fucking married a woman while he was living in a shack behind a Kmart. That's impressive. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Damn. Anyway.
It's probably just like, just going from bar to bar until someone wanted to talk with him about, well, what the fuck was that kind of rattlesnake?
Yeah, Mojave rattlesnakes. Yeah.
And then the autist.
And he's not even drinking. He doesn't like drinking. He just hangs out at bars.
And wants to talk to people about rattlesnakes and shit.
Right, I feel like we could find somebody down at the 45 pub that does the same shit.
Yeah, not one that's writing like great American novels, though. I mean, that's interesting enough, I feel like, to get your pee-pee wet. Like,
yeah, that's the thing is, like, nobody has really ever interviewed these ladies. None of them want to talk about their marriage with Cormac McCarthy, and it's like, just one. I just want to know, like, why? Why do you let him touch it? Why do you, what was it?
Well, sometimes autists just meet, and then they just kind of tiz them together. We can smell our own. And, yeah.
Well, in 2003...
Possible editing point there. All right.
It's not. In 2003, McCarthy, now living in Santa Fe, visited El Paso with his son, John, and wondered what the city would look like in another 50 to 100 years while lying in bed. He described his vision as, quote, fires up on the hill and everything being laid to waste. Sometime during that stay, he would write 2 pages of notes on the idea and shelve it away for another time.
It makes sense that if he's getting into, like, if he's vaguely hinting at ecotourism, if he's getting into, like, if he's getting into knowing more about the natural world, I can see how this is going to lead into the road.
How many fires do you think McCarthy has set? But yes, no, you're correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, little did he know that these 2 pages of notes would actually generate a story that would earn him the Pulitzer Prize. Mainly, McCarthy was busy working on other things, namely a story that started out as a screenplay. The title derives from the first line in a poem called Sailing to Byzantium by W.B. Yeats about the pains of growing old. Quote, that is no country for old men. The young, in one another's arms, birds in the trees, those dying generations at their song. The salmon falls, the mackerel-crowded seas, fish, flesh, or fowl, command all summer long. I'm, of course, talking about 2005's No Country for Old Men. And because the book was originally written as a screenplay, even when it came out, it was perfect for adapting to the screen. Therefore, I am here to tell you that there is no reason for me to go over No Country for Old Men.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Besides a scene towards the end of the book between Llewellyn Moss and the woman at the hotel in El Paso, everything is in there. The Coen brothers did an amazing fucking job making the film. And honestly, if you haven't seen it, you really need to. It's a good fucking movie.
Good fucking movie.
It's fantastic. All I will say about it is the book rests in this weird little middle ground between McCarthy's last book and his next one. Whenever the sheriff in No Country narrates, he always says shit like, things ain't that... Hang on. What's my Tommy Lee Jones voice going to be?
Don't, man. Come on, give me...
Things ain't like they used to be.
I don't think that was that bad.
Yeah.
Actually, like... I was really bracing to cringe harder than I did, and you really kind of pulled it, man. I'm proud of you.
I don't think I could do it twice. But then, so he does this whole thing where he's talking about, like, the olden days, but then he'll always cycle back to these violent stories of the things his father saw when he was a sheriff. And it kind of shows this cycle of violence that was maybe trying to be portrayed, like, at the end of Blood Meridian. You know, at the end of No Country, the sheriff talks about a dream he had, one where he rides with his father through a storm, and his father literally carries fire in a horn and rides ahead of him to light the way. And carrying the fire will be a theme in the next novel as well. I was older than he ever was by 20, 30 years.
So he's got to carry the fire?
Yeah, he's got to carry the fire. Do you remember the ending in the movie where he's talking with the... I don't think that's his wife, but just somebody he's shacking up with, that lady.
He's carrying the fire, then this is like... I guess Cormac McCarthy is like the Dark Souls of writers.
You know, carrying the fire is a thing in Dark Souls. Damn it. I don't like that you were able to connect those. Really mad about that, actually.
I just really like finding the things that are the Dark Souls of other things now. You've done this to me.
You're going to be eating spaghetti one day, and I'm going to hear you say, boy, this is like the Dark Souls of pasta.
The Dark Souls of spaghetti.
I don't like it. Anyway, so what's funny is that as much as the movie version of No Country for Old Men would be universally praised and introduce Cormac McCarthy to an even wider audience, the reception for the book itself was actually kind of lukewarm. Because the problem is, it was written like someone just writing down what was happening in a movie. There was no McCarthy poetry behind it. And people are always shocked when I tell them No Country for Old Men is perhaps his worst novel, but goddammit, I'm right. It's still a fine book, but it's not Cormac McCarthy. It's just not good for him. And since the book reads like a screenplay out of its regular format, that's apparently how the Coen brothers wrote the first script. Quote, one of us types into the computer while the other holds the spine of the book open flat. McCarthy never even showed up, he never showed up on set, though, at least not from what I could find. But from what I understand, his first time interacting with the cast and crew was when he was given a private screening of the movie. Quote, I heard him chuckle a couple of times, so I took that as a seal of approval. I don't know, maybe presumptuously. Today, Judge Holden is only known to those who have read Cormac McCarthy's works, but Anton Chigurh is widely held as one of the greatest movie villains ever written. Anyway, the movie wouldn't come out until 2007, 2 years after the book's release. But back in 2005, Cormac McCarthy would go to Ireland as a kind of writer's retreat, somewhere he'd been planning to go since 1965 when he met his second wife and got sidetracked. You remember that? He met the singer for the band, and they, stopped off in England before they hit Ireland, and they were like, fuck it, let's get married here, and let's just hang out until you divorce me.
No.
Well, that happened anyway. So it was there that he came across a couple pages of notes he'd written down in El Paso back in 2003. He looked the pages over, just spilling with death and sadness, perhaps something more depressing than Blood Meridian. And thinking back to multiple conversations he'd had with his brother on the possibilities of an apocalypse, they often found themselves turning back to one idea: cannibalism. As McCarthy once explained, when everything's gone, the only thing left to eat is each other. And it was with this that Cormac McCarthy would start his next novel, published a year later in September of 2006 from Knopf Inc., my favorite fucking book, The Road.
Yeah, I couldn't get through it.
That's fine. Why not, though?
No, just because I'm just like, Jesus Christ, let up for a minute. Like, fucking goddamn. Like,
I'm sorry, Caleb, but the Bloodborne of books will not be.
Stop yelling at God.
No.
Jesus, man.
Quote, when he woke in the woods in the dark and the cold of the night, he'd reach out to touch the child sleeping beside him. Nights dark beyond darkness and the days more gray, each one than what had gone before, like the onset of some cold glaucoma dimming the world. The story follows that of the man and the boy. The boy. There was also once a woman, but she's gone now. Woman. No, that doesn't work. For some time after the apocalypse began, the woman tried to convince the man that they should all die together, but he refused. In reality, she was trying to start an argument so the man wouldn't care when she was gone. If anything, it was so he could focus his attention on keeping the boy alive and sparing them her part in the rations. Quote, she was gone, and the coldness of it was her final gift. It is going to be a tough one. I mean, dude, if you think Blood Meridian, this is kind of why it's my favorite novel, though, is because it's like, I don't really get sad reading sad novels. I don't get happy reading happy novels, but The Road is like, just rough, I feel something. Oh, this is just really fucking rough, isn't it? Oh,
I think the only thing theme-wise that's lighter than Blood Meridian is at least like who we're following is,
yeah, it's somebody who carries hope.
Like, it's at least like a decent, normal, like, human being.
Yeah. Yeah,
like,
no, that's true.
Those are the characters that we have. It's like normal like decent, normal people, like going through like a horrific situation instead of like Blood Meridian, where like the kid is like,
he's a piece of shit already. By the time he's 16, he's already killed somebody, been shot twice, and that was his fault. Like it's.
I mean, he's also like a fucking kid growing up in that environment, but it's just way more like. Maybe
that's why The Road is so terrifying of a novel too, though, is that it is just like, who is this? It's you and me. It's just anybody. It's somebody just trying to fucking survive with a kid. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, what? There's no backstory to any of these characters, who they were as people or anything. And I mean, that's what kind of makes it hit harder. He could have been a fucking pencil pusher. He could have been an arborist. You know, could have been anything. Although I have a feeling that if he were an arborist in the book, as they're passing by all these dead forests, he'd be like, you know, these are fucking deciduous, blah, 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 blah. And the kid would be like, all right, man.
No, you know how I know he wasn't an arborist?
Because you didn't talk about it all the time.
Because he had a family.
That's sad. Man, that's
anyway, here's the road.
Man, that's, you know what that is? That's like the road of comments to make.
I don't like this. I don't think the listeners are going to like this joke. I'm so sorry for starting this.
Hey man, we did a 2-parter of Anne Frank in the early days. If you can get through that, you can do this.
Man.
Anyway,
we should delete. We should delete the whole podcast. This shouldn't be a thing.
I think of it every day.
I think my coworkers found out about it.
Yeah, that sucks, man. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, like, I don't know. It's not like...
That's kind of my reaction whenever a coworker says it, too. Like,
hey,
you know, I was Googling you. Why? Anyway, I found your podcast. Oh. Why? You know?
Like, oh, so I tried to give it a listen. I'm like, don't.
You don't need to. Listen, if you can't, then you can't. That's okay. It's not for you.
Okay, I don't need, you know.
I don't need your approval.
We're not banking on it. I'm just glad that I am in the field, in the career that I am in, because I don't know, if I had like a higher up type office job, I would be very concerned about. Oh, okay. You're the one who fucking says, like, it doesn't matter because you don't work there anymore, but you were the one who was all like, oh, so anyway, when I was supposed to be working, but I was working on Caleb but Can't Read the other day because fuck those people. And then I'd be like, Jordan, don't say that. You should edit that out. And you'd be like, haha, I don't give a fuck. You know?
Yeah, I mean...
It's probably like 5 fucking times at least that's happened. While
yeah, but who the fuck from the office was going to listen through all of them and count all the times? You have to get pretty... I always make sure it's a 20-minute mark because that's when people turn this shit off. All right, you know.
I don't know.
Anyway, so the only reason that the man carries on now is that when he dies, there will be someone to, quote, carry the fire. In a beautiful sentence that sums up the man's feelings about his son, if he is not the word of God, God never spoke. I love that. Sometime in the apocalypse, after the sky had grayed and the water turns to rot, the winters grow harsh and deadly. As the man says, they won't survive another winter. So they head west to hit the coastline, where they then plan to head south for warmer climates. To get to the coast, however...
Once you get to the coast, you can tell which way south, see?
I mean... shut up.
Well, I mean, yeah, you can have a compass in the
apocalypse.
apocalypse.
You go left or right, you know.
Dude, just go straight down. Well, there's water. You can't drink the water, man.
Like, that's true. That's okay. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, no, you just drink the.
Can you boil salt water?
I mean,
and then drink it.
You technically
Is that a thing?
can't. Yeah, but the salt like gets to the. It's a harder process than just boiling it. It sucks. Because we had to do it in science class in 10th grade.
Okay.
I don't know why they were gearing us up to be lost at sea, but they did.
Shouldn't have dropped out so early. I didn't know they taught survival skills. Maybe I would have fucking stuck around. Like,
our fucking teachers just BTK. Today we're tying knots. Oh, okay. Weird.
Yay! What the fuck, Caleb?
So, their provisions are carried in a shopping cart, outfitted with a makeshift cow catcher on the front to push away dead limbs and garbage. I mean, tree limbs, not human.
Yeah, I get it.
Now, the reason for the world turning to shit is unclear, and frankly, one of the most realistic aspects of the novel is that no one discusses it. Trees randomly fall, earthquakes come and go, and lightning strikes randomly. Actually, one of my favorite parts is about that. Quote, they came upon him shuffling along the road before them, dragging one leg slightly and stopping from time to time to stand stooped and uncertain before setting out again. They followed him a good ways, but at his pace they were losing the day, and finally he just sat in the road and did not get up again. The boy hung on to his father's coat. No one spoke. He was as burnt-looking as the country, his clothing scorched black. One of his eyes was burnt shut, and his hair was but a nitty wig of ash upon his blackened skull. As they passed, he looked down as if he'd done something wrong. Maybe he did. I don't know. Maybe he's an asshole.
Fell asleep with a lit cigarette. Shouldn't have done that.
Mom? No, throughout the story, the man and the boy have to evade all kinds of dangers like those mentioned before. But the most dangerous of all are other people. When we first see others in the book, it's a group of hunters in a truck bed rumbling down the road looking for meat. Cannibalism is widely popular in this book. Everyone's fucking doing it. Not least of which is the chapter where the man and the boy end up in a basement full of other travelers being held like cattle. Or the woman they see pregnant one day and not the next. Use your imagination. But no matter how absolutely dreadful the road is, it won award after award for at least the next 6 years. And I mean, as terrible as the things described it are, it's still beautifully written. There is no God, and we are his prophets. That's good. It might be edgelordy, but it's fucking good. And who knows? Maybe it was because McCarthy was in a dark place when he wrote it, as earlier in the year, from when The Road released, Cormac and Jennifer divorced after 9 years of marriage. In one of the few instances where I could find something about the McCarthys, I found that in 2014, Jennifer was arrested. Quote, according to arrest records, McCarthy and her current boyfriend, whose name has been redacted, were arguing about space aliens Saturday morning. Hang on. The boyfriend alleges
See
that...
what I fucking told you? They find each other.
The boyfriend alleges that McCarthy went into her bedroom alone and came out wearing lingerie with a silver handgun in her vagina. You thought aliens was the good part.
Wait, like...
She planned...
Like, did she handstand out of there with a grip in there, like, threatening him, or was, like...
She was like a fucking Silent Hill villain, just ready to shoot out of her. No, I think
what
that
a weird police report. A silver handgun?
So, okay, this is my interpretation of events. I read this. I'm not going to read you the whole article, but from what I understand, she got into an argument about space aliens with her boyfriend. She decided at some point, hey, I need to kill or harm this man. She went into the bathroom and was like, you know what, baby? Let me sex you up. And she came back out wearing lingerie, but in the panties, up her cooter was a gun.
Okay, so this isn't exact. Like, was it just like stored in the panties, or like was?
No, it was. According to him, it was in her. Which, first of all, loaded gun. That's a bad. Dangerous. But I guess her whole thing was to, like, I don't know, almost Hitman Agent 47 it over to him. And then just come out of the bathroom with it, you know? If your plan is to kill him, then fucking... What? What's your take? I don't know.
Well, I know my take.
You almost look like you have nothing and everything to say about it, so I don't know.
The only thing going through my head is like, yeah, no, I believe she married Cormac McCarthy.
Oh, fuck. Beer coming out of the nose is not... that hurts.
I'm just like, yeah, no, that checks. That's tracking for me.
Yeah, it's true, yeah. Now, the thing is, Cormac McCarthy never did any book signings, but when The Road came out, he autographed 250 copies of his book and immediately handed them over to his son. Quote, there are signed copies of the book, but they all belong to my son, John, so when he turns 18, he can sell them and go to Las Vegas or whatever. They fetch somewhere around $40,000 today.
Somewhat makes up for you being who you are, Dad. Thank you. Like
kind of the disappearing dad act. Yeah.
Thanks, man.
You know what? God bless him.
I can go to school. No, God, no.
No. Gamble. I don't know. I will say that's kind of cool. That's neat of him. That's pretty cool.
It's a good gift.
It's a good gift. I'm sure I wasn't around, but I gave you memorabilia of me to sell. You know, why not?
Signed.
Yeah. Wow. I don't even have my father's signature anywhere. He never signed my my parents' sign-offs or my report cards. He didn't sign anything. Wow. Anyway.
But he was there, Jordan.
Once.
Maybe not mentally, but physically, yes.
No, I would actually put that around. Was he there physically? No. Mentally? Maybe. We looked at the same moon every night. The next year, in 2007, The Road was announced as the next novel in Oprah Winfrey's book club. And less than a month later, it won the Pulitzer Prize. I don't think that's a coincidence. Do you?
Oprah's Book Club.
Yeah. A month after that, Cormac McCarthy would give his first televised interview on the Oprah Winfrey Show. And
That is a twist
that
I was not expecting.
He is just as awkward as his other interviews too. Quote, "Did you always know that you wanted to be a writer?" "I think. That's hard to say." He just squirms in his chair the whole time, almost like he's looking for a way out.
Tom Cruise ain't got shit on fucking Cormac McCarthy, dude.
Really, he feels and kind of looks like he's buckled into the fucking seat, and he doesn't know how to unbuckle it. He's just kind of
gotta get paid. But god damn it, I hate this.
Yeah, really. Yeah. At one point, Oprah asks if The Road is a love story for his son, and McCarthy just kind of blushes and looks fucking miserable the rest of the show. Which, by the way,
I think did she get him?
Yeah, well, it is, though. The book is very much for his son. It's not only dedicated to him, but there are parts of The Road McCarthy said were verbatim dialogues between himself and John when he was younger.
Do you only have the one kid?
2. Well, there's Colin.
How are the other kids feeling about this?
I don't know. Did you dedicate any books to me, Dad? No, all the rest are dedicated to the people who gave me money. They literally are.
Oh, man.
Like he says, to the MacArthur Foundation, to the Guggenheim Foundation. Like, I don't know. Maybe one of them's for his kid. I hope so.
For the rest of the kids? I mean,
there's just one other, but still.
Oh, okay.
Come on. Yeah.
Your name's Colin, and he didn't give you anything.
Doubling down on the shitty dad behavior.
Dude.
When Oprah asked what he wanted people to take away from the book, McCarthy had an answer that I wouldn't have expected from him. Quote, "Just simply care about things and people and be more appreciative. Life is pretty damn good even when it looks bad, and we should appreciate it more. We should be grateful. I don't know who to be grateful to, but you should be thankful for what you have." At the end of the interview, Oprah asks if he cares that there are millions of people reading his books now rather than the handful he had in his early years, and he says, in all honesty, I don't. I just don't. So what? I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. God damn it, dude. Thank the crowd and move on.
It's fine, I guess.
I don't know. It's fine.
Leave me to my shack. Let me get back to oiling Big N.
How'd you manage to find a typewriter that's just an N button? On May 21st, 2007.
My 4-letter typewriter. My finest invention. I leave this to you, Colin.
Now that I think about it, I think No Country for Old Men was the first one to not have the N-word in it. So it took him like 2005, It took a long time for him not to type it.
Fucking Christ. How worn out do you think that thing is?
Oh,
that little key there.
It's gone. I mean, at this point, he just has to imagine the letter and it shows up, By the power of all creation, I'm Cormac McCarthy. On May 21st, 2007, the ceremony for the Pulitzer Prize was held in New York City, but of course McCarthy wasn't there. Instead, the editor-in-chief of Knopf Inc. went in his place. After this, Cormac McCarthy wouldn't publish another book for 16 years, and a part of me wishes he'd kept it that way.
Oh, I saw that. Didn't a newer one come out recently?
Mm-hmm. 2.
Before
he kicked it, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get into it.
Okay, all right.
In 2009, The Road was adapted into a movie starring Viggo Mortensen, and as far as I know, Cormac McCarthy never bothered to even go on set or be screened beforehand.
It's a bummer, dude.
Yeah, but the movie is really good. But unlike No Country for Old Men, the movie version heavily pales in comparison to the book. Not on content, but in the absolute beauty of the words Cormac McCarthy has written.
I'd say on content, too.
Well, that's the thing, is that, they're still showing the same shit, but it's
they don't go as hard into, the fucked up tribes of cannibal people.
I mean...
they're around. They're part of the story. Yeah,
that's what I mean, though. They show it, but it's to be honest, it feels like if The Road were written by somebody else, take Blood Meridian, let's say the same outline and everything. You give Blood Meridian to any other author, they could possibly make a really good book out of it. I think The Road is very much as far as plot-wise goes and everything else, it's a good idea. That is hard to make it into a good fucking book, but McCarthy drives that shit home. Movie-wise, you've got a basic plot. It's post-apocalypse. We've seen this. We've seen it a million times.
Yeah, I guess if you didn't really like know about or respect like the source material, you'd be like, oh, okay, this is just kind of in right now. At the time period when it came out, right? Because we were like doing zombies and shit then, right?
That's true. Yeah.
Like,
I mean, Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead still say it's one of the better zombie movies. That was 2004. That was only 5 years before. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is like The Road as a movie was like, that's a post-apocalypse movie. That's it.
I guess people who didn't...
The writing was fantastic if you read it.
Who didn't know about the book would just kind of pass by it like that, yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, that was the thing. Much like Blood Meridian, he took the darkest subject matter and he turned it into poetry. But, anyway, the movie's fine. It's a good movie.
I like it. It's a good fucking movie.
Did I talk on
I mean, I don't want to watch it often because it's The Road.
It's fucking depressing as
but
shit.
Like...
I'm signaling.
Just keep talking. Okay, Jordan keeps doing this bullshit thing where he's like signaling for me quietly to get him another fucking beer, which I have no problem doing. The funny part is he could just keep fucking talking while he you literally just point down. I'll get you a beer while you're reading shit.
That one.
That's not what I mean. You don't need
the red one. Did I tell you about meeting Viggo Mortensen on this podcast?
I don't know if you did on the podcast, man.
Oh. Well,
since we're on topic of The Road.
Well, yeah, pretty much. Yeah. But no, he was very much trying to keep it like I'm not Viggo Mortensen, hat and everything, just looking like a dad on vacation, really. But him and his wife were hanging out at the Portland Japanese Gardens, and we had heard from like all of the employees and whatnot, like, holy shit, dude, Viggo Mortensen was just here. And we were like, fuck, did we miss him? And then like we know somebody in the Portland Japanese Gardens. I don't know if I should say his name because he did kind of...
We don't do that.
But, well, I mean, what he did was, like, not super cool to the privacy of the person that we were like, please tell us when you see Viggo Mortensen, so I won't say, but shout out to that guy. Anyway, he just kind of, like, stretches and points like, ooh, right over there, you know, it's... We walk over, and Viggo Mortensen is there outside of the bathrooms, like, head down, just trying not to make eye contact with anyone because his wife's in the bathroom, and... You know, and I just like, I do the kind of pass by walk, and I've always wanted to do this. And I said to a super famous person like Viggo Mortensen, I was like, hey, aren't you that guy from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3? And he was like, mm-hmm. And I apologized for having to do that, and I moved on. It's perfect. I'm so sorry, Viggo Mortensen. If you happen to listen to this, I love you and I'm sorry.
I don't think Viggo Mortensen's ever going to listen to Caleb Can't Read.
Hey, Viggo Mortensen, if you're listening right now, sponsor us. I don't know what you do, actually. Don't sponsor us.
Yeah, I don't think we need to have... No. No, we're
not
doing... We
get Viggo Mortensen and Jason Momoa here on Caleb Can't Read. Anyway.
Where are you going with this, man? We're both tired, aren't we?
Yeah, dude. I'm really sleepy. Boys. All right, here we go. We got some more pages.
Fuck.
No, and I'm not editing any of it. That's how tired I am. All right, so in December of 2009, Cormac McCarthy would sell his Olivetti Latera 32 typewriter that he'd used the last 46 years and were wiped away through popular auction house Christie's, where it was appraised to be sold somewhere between $15,000 to $20,000. Whoa. Yeah. All proceeds would go to the Santa Fe Institute, a collection of scientists which McCarthy seemed to really admire, and later would spend all of his time there. Well, the typewriter didn't sell for $15,000 or even $20,000. It sold for $254,500. So a friend of McCarthy's was like, does this mean that you're giving up writing? And he said, no. So his friend's like, okay, well, what do you want to write on?
He's like, no, I just got a laptop, man.
Yeah. Well, he's like, what do you want to write on? He's like, I don't know. I like the typewriter I had before. So his friend buys him another Olivetti Latera 32 for just $11 plus $19.95 for shipping. That's not a bad gimmick.
Pretty fucking bad, dude.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Guys, I got a scheme we're all going to go on, and it's going to take about 40 years, and
everyone's going to have this shitty fucking typewriter.
And we are really going to have to learn how to write to fucking make this come up. Like, we're going to have to step the game up.
It was
Matter of fact, I think we're a little too neurotypical. My only idea I have, fellas, if you could just, if you're wondering why I brought that bat.
It was also in this year that notes about an unrealized novel from McCarthy were discovered at an archive in the Texas State University. This is where all his notes went after he did that made-for-TV movie back in the 70s. You remember they stashed all the shit there, and then we talked about maybe doing a road trip down in Texas. Oh, the Cormac McCarthy tour. Yeah, let's do that.
Do it, dude.
Well, the Wall Street Journal called up Cormac McCarthy and asked him, hey, we found notes on this novel, but it doesn't sound like any of your others. Are you still planning on doing this novel? And he's like, yeah, I actually started that book back in 1980. So this would have been right after Suttree came out.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to put this typewriter through its paces, man.
And he said he was still planning on the book coming out. Told them it would be, quote, set in New Orleans around 1980. It has to do with a brother and a sister. When the book opens, she's already committed suicide, and it's about how he deals with it. She's an interesting girl. Said he had actually been planning on writing about a woman for 50 years. And that was it. He wouldn't officially announce the title for another 6 years. I would like to say Outer Dark, about the brother and sister with the baby. It's partly he already wrote about a woman, but that's okay. Anyway, at this point, though, at his age, I wouldn't fault him for not remembering.
How old is he at this point?
He's at least in his 60s.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, between The Road and his final two novels, Cormac McCarthy once again delved into screenplays. The Sunset Limited was written as a stage play between two characters named White and Black, because one guy is white and the other is black.
Are you serious?
Yeah. For an hour and a half.
He's in his 60s.
For an hour and a half, they discuss philosophies on God and death. Yeah. When he published the script back in 2006, same year as The Road, the critics had to rate it based on the fact that it was supposed to be a stage play, and they were like, it's fucking boring. There's nothing happening. Why wouldn't you just make it a novel if it's nothing but dialogue? Regardless, the script was eventually adapted into 2011 with Tommy Lee Jones and Samuel L. Jackson in a film no one remembers. I'll do the Tommy Lee Jones voice as
Did they call it White and Black?
Yeah, probably. But you know what? Let's go through some dialogue right now. I'll be Tommy Lee Jones. You be Samuel L. Jackson. Give me your best black voice.
I'm gonna hit the off button on this thing.
In 2013, there was another movie no one remembers called The Counselor, directed by Ridley Scott, starring Michael Fassbender, Penelope Cruz, Cameron Diaz, Brad Pitt, Javier Bardem, and the guy who plays Uncle Hank in Breaking Bad. The movie came directly from a screenplay Cormac McCarthy had written, not adapted, but something he wrote specifically to be made by Ridley Scott. I guess Scott had wanted to adapt Blood Meridian for some time, but it got shot down. And he and McCarthy grew to like each other over the few months they talked the project over, so McCarthy wrote this up as a consolation prize instead.
You can't have Blood Meridian, but...
everyone hated it. I've never seen it. I bought it, but I'd never watched it.
Again?
The Counselor. It's apparently one of Guillermo del Toro's favorite films. Of course.
All right.
Like,
maybe we should watch it, man. I don't know.
It's this movie everyone hates. Yeah, I love it. Yeah. And then there was the film adaptation of Child of God. You remember that one? That was the serial killer living in the caves.
Ooh.
Yeah, the problematic one. That was made in 2013. He had nothing to do with it. Written and directed by James Franco. It's about a rapist, so that kind of makes sense. It got a 42%. Okay. I'm just saying. Yeah, allegedly. It got a 42% on Rotten Tomatoes, so maybe don't go see that one. Although The Counselor has a 34%, so I don't know. Who am I to judge? Now, starting in 2014, Cormac McCarthy began spending time at the Santa Fe Institute, the playground for scientists he saw merit in and sold his typewriter for back in 2009. You see, Cormac McCarthy had been a longtime fan of all scientific endeavors. When he won the MacArthur Fellowship back in 1981, it put him in contact with the other winners of the grant. Some writers, yes, but most of which were scientists. And McCarthy completely neglected the writers, just so he could talk shop with the nerds. For the rest of his life, he would spend time at the Santa Fe Institute just learning from others and what projects they were working on. The inspiration he got from these people came in the form of his only piece of nonfiction, a scientific paper released in 2017 called the Kekulé problem. So basically, there was this chemist back in the 1800s named Auguste Kekulé, and he was trying to figure out what the shape of the molecule could be, because at this point, its existence was only theorized, when supposedly he had a dream of the Ouroboros, snake eating its own tail.
Yeah. Snaky boy.
Yeah.
Snaky 8.
Yes, we've all played God of War, we know.
Yeah.
No, that's completely wrong. Anyway, and he goes, my God, my dream has answered the question. The molecule is a circle. And he didn't have any way to prove it at the time, but he ended up being right. So McCarthy posits how this could be, linking dreams and language. But although the Kekulé problem got published in the scientific magazine Nautilus, it's not a real scientific paper. It has no sources, doesn't go into a hypothesis or a thesis. It's just Cormac McCarthy's own weird philosophy. It honestly, I tried. It reads like someone who got really high and tried explaining language to someone. Your first few sessions, smoking pot, and there was that one guy, could have been you, who's just like, guys, I got a theory. That's what it reads like.
No. The only thing I did smoking pot was have panic attacks. So
Cool.
definitely would not have been my thing there. Probably just very annoyed by that guy.
That's why you switched directly over to heroin and meth.
Oh yes.
Oh hell yeah. No. Now throughout the years, especially in the 2010s, Cormac McCarthy would be imitated on Twitter time and time again. Someone would come along trying to claim the blue check mark like they were the official Cormac McCarthy at least a couple times. And every time, his publishers would have to swoop in and be like, Cormac McCarthy doesn't even own a computer. There was once even a Twitter hoax in 2016 saying Cormac McCarthy had died, which is a hard rumor to fight when you don't even have the internet. So yet again, his publishers...
Wait, hang on.
Huh.
Prove that he's alive.
Actually, prove that he's dead.
Is this like...
Yeah. So yet again, his publishers swooped in like, nope, not dead. USA Today even retweeted the hoax saying, #breaking. Pulitzer Prize winning author Cormac McCarthy dies of a stroke at 82. Random House actually had to step in with their own tweet saying, quote, Cormac McCarthy is alive and well and still doesn't care about Twitter.
Little blue check mark on the totally real Cormac McCarthy account that said, I just died, sorry.
Well, how the fuck did they, verify that anyway? How can you prove you're the real Cormac McCarthy? N. Oh, okay.
How can you prove... Oh, stop. No,
Okay,
oh, Jesus Christ. Okay.
What's your living condition like? Poor. Oh, that's him. Yep. So in 2015, right after McCarthy starts hanging out with these scientists at the Santa Fe Institute, he announces his next work, the one he's been toiling away at since 1980, whose notes were discovered back in 2009. The book was to be called The Passenger, and I'm not sure if he knew it at the time, but it would actually end up being 2 novels tied together, and his last. On October 25th, 2022, The Passenger was released by Knopf Inc., and a little over a month later, on December 6th, the prequel, Stella Maris, was released as well. And I'll be honest, we can't go into these novels too in depth, because the whole thing feels like a puzzle that no one has solved yet. The best I can do is give you what it says on the surface. So the story of The Passenger is about a guy named Bobby who works on salvage dives. Boat sinks, he goes down to retrieve it. Well, in the novel, he's in New Orleans to inventory what he can find in a small plane that's crashed off the coast. But the men in black arrive at some point asking about the missing black box and the missing 8th passenger. And it feels like this is what the novel will revolve around, this great mystery, but it doesn't. Instead, the entire book is almost completely filled with dialogue between Bobby and his friends just bullshitting.
I feel like maybe it's just, hey man, he was getting up there and
yeah,
hadn't lived the...
I mean, if you think about it though, he hasn't made a book since The Road, so that's 2006.
Mm-hmm.
He had to As long as you're not dying, you gotta do something.
I mean, is it
guess.
like, well, yeah, but I'm saying, is it like riding a bike?
Yeah.
You know?
The problem is, though, as great as the writing is, no one speaks like a human being in this fucking book. Like, his other books are full of realistic dialogue, even in Spanish. But no one in real life ever turns to anyone and says, "The world is full of people who should have been willing to weep." No one says that.
Like, dude, I don't want to fucking hang out with you anymore.
No one says, "I wanted to be entered like a cathedral." Shut up.
Stop it. There is not a single situation in which that would be not off-putting.
God, if I was hot and heavy with a girl and she was like, "Oh yeah, enter me like a cathedral," I'd be like, "Actually, I think I got work tomorrow." It's weird. I don't know.
Like, oh man, now we're gonna double wrap to be extra safe.
By the way, don't do that. I don't, just throwing it out there.
Okay,
it's
no,
not a.
there.
The friction will burn away the first and the second.
Anyone who stayed with a podcast by two 30-year-old men about Cormac McCarthy this fucking far, that is this far along, like,
you ain't
one,
sexing.
Okay, yeah, well, there's that. Also, like, if they're not old enough, if they don't know, they're surely old enough to have known by now, and if they don't, then they've already done it several
I'm just
times
saying,
and made several
just
children.
don't.
Like,
hey, if it's not too late for one person, then I've done my job. Don't double wrap. Anyway, The Passenger has just brilliant writing.
Don't
like
listen
always.
to him. It's double safe. You can still kind of feel it.
If the devil and angel on your shoulder is fucking Caleb and me, Jesus Christ.
Wrap that shit
I feel
twice.
so sorry for
Wrap that shit twice. And I know the feeling's going to get taken away, but it's going to be okay as long as you don't ever masturbate.
It's purple. Yeah. So anyway.
It'll make it look bigger.
Oh, also, so in the book, Bobby's in love with his schizophrenic sister who kills herself at the beginning of the novel. So he has to deal with that. But there are chapters in between Bobby's story as well where we read the sister's experiences with her hallucinations, which is kind of fun. So I will say the book gives it that much. Anyway, The Passenger was highly rated by critics, not because they thought it was a good Cormac McCarthy novel, but because he was willing to do something new at this late in his age, which is admirable, I'll admit. But it felt like the book, at least to me, was setting up this riddle where people would then have to wait a month to get their answer from the prequel, Stella Maris. Instead, the book is nothing but dialogue, and I'm not exaggerating. The entire thing is back and forth dialogue between Bobby's sister and her doctor. They discuss philosophies and death, much like that play McCarthy did 15 years prior, but I never read that, so I have nothing to compare it to. Regardless, the book is fine, but these two novels to me are a real bummer to end such a beloved legacy on.
Yeah, he was old, man.
I know. And on June 13th, 2023, Charles Joseph McCarthy Jr., better known as Cormac McCarthy, died in his home in Santa Fe at the age of 89. And by the way, no one knows what his politics really were. You can read his stuff as either left or right. The New York Times interview he had in 92 called him radically conservative, but that has been called into question a number of times.
Okay, now if with only the information you've given me right now, I'm going to say firmly libertarian uncle.
Yeah, you know what? I would agree with that.
Like,
I'm not going to call him conservative, but libertarian sounds about
I'm
right.
not, and I'm definitely not saying that's good.
Oh.
But just a confused libertarian uncle.
Yeah, libertarian, I mean, granted on like a scale, they tip right, but it's like both the left and right are looking at libertarians like something's going on there. So, something's up with this man living behind the shed.
Just like something got missed in what you were being taught here, and I do not have the time to read back through everything. And I'm sorry, but there's not enough of you for it to be a concern. So,
yeah, exactly.
like,
yeah,
like,
that's about it.
Yeah.
God, wasn't the guy who just got voted into office in Argentina, isn't he libertarian?
I have no idea, Jordan.
No, okay, I'm
Are you
sorry.
doing a racism?
No, I don't think so.
Never mind. Okay, let's...
No, he was basically a 4chaner that got voted into office, and everyone's like, I'm going to see how this goes. I don't know. It's weird. I think at one, like, I saw a photo of him holding the "Don't Tread on Me" flag, but it was like, that's not for Argentina. I don't know what, I guess, I don't know.
His first voters, apparently. They liked it.
That's the thing. You know what? I'm not going to go into sociopolitics with you. Never fucking mind. He didn't get a lot of votes, I'll tell you that much, but he still won because it's the same thing as like what we have over here. It feels like anyway. Mm-hmm. So although he may be
saying it was like a pop, never mind.
Yeah,
never mind.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
Let's go.
Cormac McCarthy is far from forgotten. His books have caused trouble ever since they hit the streets and are causing trouble still. In 2007, a teacher at Jim Ned High School in Tuscola, Texas...
Is your son reading Cormac McCarthy?
This teacher assigned Child of God to a 14-year-old student of his. When the student complained about the subject matter to his mom, she complained to the school district, who put the teacher on administrative leave. Now, the teacher was eventually fired, and I saw a lot of articles that acted like this was the reason why, but it wasn't. If you go into the the local papers about this guy, it's because he was a fucking pervert.
Oh.
He didn't diddle anyone, but he was real creepy about what he chose to say to children.
He's getting close. They just had a feeling about it.
Well, I mean, nationally, he was fired for trying to teach Cormac McCarthy. Oh, he chose the one about a serial killer rapist that lives in the caves. It's not a good one. Choose a different one.
Okay, man.
You know,
it's not. Well, they're old enough to know. Dude, they were 5th graders. It's like.
Oh yeah, and he said some weird shit. They had like the full transcripts on it. Was
Wait, what grade did this guy actually teach?
You know, I want to say 9th grade. I think,
yeah.
But no, it was still weird. Well, it was 14-year-old that he gave Child of God to. What age is that?
It's like look, 8th well, okay, yeah. I mean, if I feel like that's more like, they're in college. Let them fucking find that weird shit on their own. There's plenty of like literature that you can go through and. In high school, the fucking
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No, that's
like,
what I mean. Yeah, like give him the Orchard Keeper. Give him his first book. Yeah, or All the Pretty Horses.
No, you don't even. We don't even have to touch Cormac McCarthy yet.
Yeah,
like there's plenty of shit like that we could go through. You can be like,
shouldn't I be assigned Harper Lee technically at 8th grade? Yeah, but how about a real hard novel that you're gonna get real worried about?
Like if you run into a kid that happens to be like a Cormac McCarthy enthusiast, you could be like, that's really cool, man. That's not what I can do here.
Yeah, no,
in 9th grade class with you. Like,
no, for sure. I can relate to this. I was really into Stephen King in 3rd grade, and I had teacher and everyone was giving book reports in front of the class, and I gave my book report. I think it was The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon. Really shitty Stephen King book, but regardless, the teacher was like, "I'm gonna stop you there. Let's talk after class." And she was like, "I think it's great that you're reading above your grade level, but
we're gonna give you a good grade, but we're not gonna do a presentation.
We're not. Like, you can't do this."
Like, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Fender. Anyway,
sounds reasonable.
Yeah. So anyway, regardless, the initial news story about this teacher, it made the sales for Child of God fucking skyrocket in the area, and every bookstore in the area sold out for the entire year. Like they couldn't backstock it anymore. Everyone was buying it. And although adaptations of McCarthy's work have been made in the past, Blood Meridian has often been called one of the unfilmable movies. Not like in the case of Atlas Shrugged, where it's unfilmable because it's rife with stupid philosophy. No, Blood Meridian is unfilmable because the things that stay with you, the baby tree, the man with skinned feet, everything in it.
Bunch of dudes getting like sexually assaulted while being scalped.
Yeah, everything in it.
I don't think I'd watch it, man.
I'm going to watch it.
I don't know, man. I don't.
Yeah, you will. But you're not going to be happy with yourself.
I don't think. That can just be told to me.
Yeah.
We can leave it there.
That's fair. I don't know, man.
They're not gonna. There's no way that it's gonna have. I don't think that you could make it with a high enough budget to do it justice, and then not have somebody over your head wanting a return back to meet that without being completely unfaithful to
right
what
and
the content is.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. There's just no. It's like pretty fucking epic.
Right, and I mean that's
a
the
story,
thing.
so it's not like you could do a.
I think that they can do a mini series or something on Netflix, maybe, or something somewhere, HBO even. But a mini series would do it a lot better justice. I mean, it's the same reason I never watched The Revenant. I from all the things that you told me about Leonardo DiCaprio being assaulted by Tom Hardy in a bear suit, I was like, I don't want to watch that. So I never did, you know? I don't have to see
Loved
that.
it.
But yeah, no, everything in Blood Meridian is 100 pieces of violence a page. Like, not to mention, in reality, as he mentions in the book, cowboys walked around naked all the fucking time. It's mentioned in the novel quite a bit that when it's hot outside, a lot of guys would just walk around with a gun belt, a hat, a boots, and call it good.
Yeah, and it's not like it's not like in a Game of Thrones way where it's something where it's like, oh god, but it's sexy. It's like, no, this is just
no, dude.
This shit is just fucked.
Go down to your local gas station. Those are the dudes naked. All right. It's not who you want to see naked. Those are the guys doing the real work. Look at Caleb. You want to see him naked? Fuck no.
And dude, just like
trust me, I've done it. I've seen Caleb naked. It's awful.
Yeah. I look like a microwave potato thrown against a wall.
Man, you could play the boy, and I could play Judge Holden. We should really reenact that outhouse scene. Come here, boy.
Tell me what happened, Jordan. I want to know what happened at the end of Blood Meridian.
Nicole's going to walk into the outhouse. Dear God Almighty.
Just closes it.
She's like, I fucking knew it. But in 2009, Cormac McCarthy said the movie wasn't unfilmable, but it would be, quote, very difficult to do and would require someone with a bountiful imagination and a lot of balls. But the payoff would be extraordinary. And he's right. If done right, it would. Blood Meridian was first adapted to his screenplay in 1995. Then later, Tommy Lee Jones tried it. Later still, Ridley Scott wanted to get it going after Kingdom of Heaven. And after that, James Franco, again, for some fucking reason. But every fucking
James Franco, get the fuck away from Cormac McCarthy. Like, no, dude.
Well, he did it with that Child of God movie that no one watched, and it's like, yeah, maybe don't. But every fucking time, the production was shut down for the same reason. The book is way too violent. However, before his death, one last thing Cormac McCarthy did was begin adapting the novel himself. Unfortunately, I don't think he had the time to finish, and knowing him, it probably would have taken another 10 to 20 years to complete.
It would probably be like a Blood Meridian movie. It'd be like Fury Road without any morals.
What morals
or
are in
good
Fury
soundtrack
Road?
or any
nonsense.
Hope. Like,
in the back of John Joel Glanton's gang is a dude on the horse with a guitar, just blindfolded. Dun, 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 dun.
But just that level of constant just violence.
That's the thing, though. I mean, this shit is beautifully written, but it has to translate well to screen, and that's kind of what I was talking about earlier with The Road. It makes for a good movie, but it's not as good as the book. And granted, I know a lot of movies have that issue where they're not as good as the book, but it's like sometimes it translates just fine. You know, No Country for Old Men was great, but Blood Meridian, that's going to be a fucking tough one. It really is. And I have heard that they are starting production, though. They're going to give it a go. It's probably going to be ass, but we'll see. Hopefully I eat my words on that one.
It'd be fucking sick if it wasn't, though.
I know. It'd be so fucking good. It needs to be a miniseries. You can't do it. How long of a movie are you going to make where it does it justice?
They're going to have to do like 3, probably.
3 movies? Do a trilogy out of it? That would work.
Yeah.
Yeah. God, who would you have film it, though? Honestly, I think Martin Scorsese would do a fantastic job, but he's going to die soon, too. I hate to say it, but the dude's like 90, pushing 90. It's like, he knows Killers of the Flower Moon is his last movie. Like, he knows that. Like, anyway. And nobody has seen that movie because in theaters, you have to listen to Taylor Swift going on in all of the quiet scenes, and people are not watching it, and that's sad. Anyway. So although he's hit the mainstream these days, several celebrities pass around Cormac McCarthy's works like a secret handshake, as he becomes a lot of people's favorite author, like me, like you. During Roger Ebert's last years, he read Suttree and became enamored with it. He wrote, quote, "I began to live through this desperate man's sad life. But not everyone is a fan. Nicholas Sparks, author of The Notebook, says Cormac McCarthy is quote-unquote horrible.
Wait, really?
Saying Blood Meridian is probably the most pulpy, overwrought, melodramatic cowboy versus Indian story ever written. When asked what his favorite novel is, Nicholas Sparks said it was A Walk to Remember, a book he himself wrote.
Just take your money and go, dude.
What a fucking asshole. You dumb douche.
Want to see a good example of writing? My work over here, actually.
Yeah, so what's your favorite book? Oh, just a little something that I wrote. Oh, you dickbag.
God.
When McCarthy died, I think the announcement from Random House described him best. Cormac McCarthy changed the course of literature. For 60 years, he demonstrated an unwavering dedication to his craft and to exploring the infinite possibilities and power of the written word. Or maybe it was Patton Oswalt who said, "Death was not hilarious today. R.I.P. Cormac McCarthy." My sources today: Blood Meridian or The Evening Reddening. The Evening Reddening. The Evening Redness in the West.
Or
I don't need to be corrected by you.
Or The Baby Tree.
Or The Sodomizing Scalping.
Or The Cowboy Baby Tree.
Or The Outhouse.
The Cowboy Baby Tree that scalped and clapped men's cheeks. That'd be a fantastic Warhammer model.
God. Honestly, you probably could take somebody from 40K and just call him Judge Holden and just put him done. Yeah.
A little cowboy hat on pretty much any little. I'm not doing this. Oh
by
my
Cormac
God.
McCarthy, 2010 Modern Library Edition, 28th printing. Review of Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy by Karen James, The New York Times, April 28th, 1985. Hang on, we're going to sit here for a while.
It's okay.
Cormac McCarthy's Venomous Fiction by Richard B. Woodward, The New York Times, April 19th, 1992. The Border Trilogy by Cormac McCarthy, Everman's Library, 2008. No Country for Old Men by Cormac McCarthy, First Vintage International Edition, July 2006. The Road by Cormac McCarthy, Knopf Inc., First Edition, 2006. I'm very proud of that. Cormac... I had to wait all night on a website to make sure that I could hit buy first. I was very...
Collecting things is not a skill.
No, I'm not saying a... Anyway. No, you're correct.
I'm sorry.
You're right.
I'm a little tired and burnt out by the end of this just because of the timing we had recording, and I'm sorry.
Also the subject matter.
I'm not a good person, and I just didn't want you to feel good, and I'm sorry about that.
No, you know what's the saddest thing about what you just said is that I'm gonna take it to heart, and I truly don't feel good about it anymore. Cormac.
That's good.
It means I win. Cormac McCarthy's ex-wife arrested in bizarre assault by Carolyn Kellogg, LA Times, January 8th, 2014.
Oh, yeah, buddy.
Bang, bang. Cormac McCarthy interview.
Take you to an evening redness in the South, motherfucker. Let's go.
Cormac McCarthy interview on the Oprah Winfrey Show, YouTube.com. Cormac McCarthy death hoax on Snopes.com. The Passenger by Cormac McCarthy, Knopf Inc., First Edition 2022. Stella Maris by Cormac.
You want to start
McCarthy?
That over?
No. Stella Maris by Cormac McCarthy, Knopf Inc., First Edition 2022. Ex-Gym Ned teacher allegedly sought sexual favors by Doug Myers. This is the Child of God teacher. ReporterNews.com, October 13th, 2008. Maybe the greatest American novelist of my time. Cormac McCarthy honored by Stephen King and others by Carlos de Laura. Los Angeles Times, June 13th, 2023 in Wikipedia. Ooh, we did it.
Holy shit, everybody.
And I'm not going to edit anything out.
Yeah, I don't think we need to really.
No. You want to bomb it at the end here? Fuck, dude, it came to almost 2 hours.
Yeah, that was bad timing for this. I'm sorry.
No, it's fair. Look, here's the thing. When I type out a script and I see that it's 20 pages long, I'm like, okay, then we can chop it to 2 episodes. Mm-hmm. This was 28 altogether with the sources included, and I was like, okay, 14 pages each, that's fine. That's a regular episode length, but boy, did we have a lot to talk about when it comes to just wanting to fillet our favorite fucking author. I mean, yeah, really. Go figure,
But, yeah, I mean, I don't know, I'm a little bummed because, I wanted to get this done with you.
Yeah.
And not wait, another 2 weeks until we were free, but...
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm kind of sorry, I was kind of gassed out.
No, it's all right.
But
I mean,
It's been a fucking rough one, and now we're on holiday break, and I don't see another time.
It's not going to be, honestly, if you wanted to get to a time that you're not gassed out, you're going to have to wait till after Christmas when people are like, okay, well, the holiday's over, so let's start calling up tree people to start removing shit. You know, like early spring cleaning. And then you're going to get to spring where people go, hey, let's do spring cleaning. And then it'll get to summer months where it's, you know, it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
You're stuck in a loop of hell.
No, I'm not. I'm like especially tired. I'm currently like, believe me, like I know what tired is, Jordan. I'm at a constant level of it all the time. So when I'm telling you, like,
that's my
I'm
secret,
fucking,
Captain. I'm always nappy.
I'm always a very sleepy boy. And this one, yeah, fuck, we had to stop in the middle of this so I could just like lay down.
Yeah, Caleb literally took a nap before the last 3 pages. He was like, I can't.
I was like, dude, I'm sorry. And I laid in Buster's dog bed.
Yeah, which Buster's now occupying. God, she's so cute. Look at that shit.
But no, I'm just bummed because like we haven't had to do anything like that in a while, and like this is an author that I actually like.
I know. We had
like,
to bust
fuck.
it out though. We're like, I have a feeling a lot of people are going to be looking for this one too, because this is really I mean, when I was first doing the research on this, there was nobody out there that was just laying out all the information. I had to search for a while, so that's why the sources were so fucking long. But now that we're done, we can wait another 5 months for the next episode. Woo-hoo.
Wait, really?
No, I mean, I have the next episodes ready whenever you are.
Oh, okay.
But
are we doing a fucking break for releasing them at least, or?
Oh no, this was season 6 first author.
Oh, okay.
This
cool.
Yeah, so we don't need to do a break at all. I think we stopped doing them. I mean, fuck it, why bother?
Yeah,
we're already doing enough breaks. But hey, man, Cormac McCarthy.
Everybody have a good break. We'll see y'all.
Yeah.